Let's see. Oh,
Working?
They are on.
Hello.
yes, I think it's almost 4 o'clock. We're filling up a bit. Some people prefer the wine, I think, at 4 o'clock instead of a session, but glad you're all here. I'm very excited to be here. I have these 3 beautiful ladies sitting on the couch, coming from different directions. Laura, you're coming more from an
Yeah.
agency direction, PR. And Casey from the hotel direction, having a lot of experience in reputation management. And Neha, more like from the tech world within the customer data platform. Already for 15 years, Revinate is active in this. Yeah, we're going to talk today about the effectiveness of hotel reputation. And these wonderful ladies will share insights in it. Yeah, could we start with you, Laura? Like, what is reputation for you, and what do you do with it?
I think reputation in the PR and marketing is more about we divide it in press, trade media, but also we work with influencers and content creators. It's like online, but also still in print. We do a lot. And when journalists or content creators have a good experience in the hotels, they write very positive about it or post online. And I think, yeah, then you generate a very good reputation.
Yeah, thank you. And for you, Chrissy?
Well, in addition to what was just mentioned, we also look at the reviews that are left by our customers. That is the first experience that they have. It's also the most real experience. It's something that you can't control, and your reputation really relies on that. So when you have a bunch of reviews on TripAdvisor and you make the top, you know that that really means something.
I think for you, Neha, you explained like Revinate moved from a guest feedback CRM to a customer data platform. Can you explain a little bit of this process?
Of course, sure. So 15 years ago, Revinate started the review management business for hoteliers, how they can actually have it an easier way to reply to so many reviews on so many different review sites, but also having the possibility to send proactively surveys to the guests to understand how the stay has been, build a stronger relationship to the guests. And while doing that, we realized that hoteliers oftentimes would like to have more clear data on their guests as well. So that's why we do connect to a PMS system, clean all the data, merge all the dedupes, and are able to provide a whole guest journey for the hoteliers, including, sending out pre-stay campaigns, post-stay campaigns, all based on the clean profile. This has been our journey today, translating in a whole CDP, customer data platform.
Yeah, it's very interesting, I think. And is that so that all the data are connected to a profile, and you can use this profile also in a later stage or for returning guests?
Absolutely, yes. So you do have the point, or the goal is to have one profile per guest with all the preferences of the guest, with all the activities of the guest, to really being able to understand the guest better, and most importantly, personalize the services based on the guest preferences.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're talking about reputation, but actually what kind of websites or labels are relevant now for you, Chrissy, nowadays?
Well, there's many. One of the tops that we would see is TripAdvisor, Booking.com. Google, I see, is becoming more and more important. But those are the main ones that we are monitoring.
Yeah, because, well, Cassie is not, she's like the number 1 on TripAdvisor for the whole Caribbean and the number 16 worldwide. So there's something we can learn from you, I think, as a hotelier. Can you tell us your secret? Why are you on this position?
Well, I think really it has to do with engaging with your customers. So getting to know them, having that personal touch. We are a smaller hotel, which allows us to really get to know them and make them our family. But the important thing is Like she said, getting as much information. So we actually do use Revinate as well, but getting as much information before they arrive so that you can already tailor make their vacation for them. When they arrive, then having those personal touch centers, making sure that your staff knows who they are, addresses them thoroughly, and then after they stay, following up with them.
And how do you think the bigger hotels can learn from this? Because, well, I don't know how many rooms do you have?
We have 104 rooms, so of course it's not. Sometimes you have hotels that have thousands of rooms, but that's a different business model as well. Our business model is to be very guest-centric, a bit smaller, more personalized. I do think that you could leverage data in larger hotels to be able to do that, because of course when you have 2,000 guests, it's impossible to remember all their names and what they like. But when it's a smaller hotel, it's a little bit easier to do.
Yeah, and I assume as well in the Caribbean that people stay a little bit longer as well than in a city trip environment.
For sure, and they return also more. So about 70% of our customers return within the first 3 years.
That's great. Laura, I think for you it's all about online, the reputation. What can you do to influence this?
Yeah, what we do, we work a lot with creators and influencers, and we send them to the hotels, and they can experience it themselves. And I think when you make it very reliable to them, and they can really experience it themselves, they can make the content at the time, and they post it right away. So I think, yeah, it's really, very visible and transparent to their followers.
Yeah, and can you measure this as well, like what is coming out of this? And
Yeah, actually, we had like 2 weeks ago, we had an influencer from the Netherlands, Jade Anna. She has 1 million followers on Instagram. We had her at Now Rotterdam, one of our hotels we work with. And she stayed at Now and posted a few stories and also a post. And the followers from Now Rotterdam, they gained like 3,000 followers on Instagram just because she posted like a few stories.
yeah,
So that's incredible to see. Then you can measure it like on the spot.
yeah, it's pretty effective. And
Very,
does it cost a lot for a hotel to do these kind of things?
We always try to work with free publicity. So we always try to put a barter deal on the collaboration. And sometimes influencers with a high following want to have like paid collaborations. But we always try to focus on free publicity because they get already an overnight stay in return.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about
Yeah.
hotels, of course. We have really something to give away, I think. What I also want to ask you, like, I'm curious, like attracting a younger crowd. I think there are a lot of hotels, they focus at a market with more mature guests. So what would be possible to change this, to attract a younger crowd audience in the hotel?
Yeah, the thing is, we are very traditional PR agency. So, like, our basics are also working with print media, but also trade media. And now we see actually the shift now that we also are focusing now on digital platforms like TikTok. Gen Z generation is on there, but also Instagram. And that's also the platforms we work with. So we find creators on there, and then we collaborate with them.
Yeah, well, I live myself in Amsterdam and I see these huge lines, you know, like to eat a patatje.
Yeah.
Or Van Stapelen, I don't know if you hear it, but
I know that
it's
one.
amazing like how this behavior is taking place, of course, in the city.
And then you see like a TikTok from somebody who's filming that, like they're in line, and then everybody's like, oh, where is this? I want to go there as well.
Yeah.
So that's actually funny, and they pick it up, and everybody's in line, hours for just to have fries.
Thank you. What is also, I'm very much into direct bookings to increase this. Casey, you said like majority of our guests will book online. How do you do that, and how can reputation help in this behavior?
So about almost 80% of our bookings come direct. There's multiple factors. So we're not a new hotel. We've been there for a while. So a lot of our business, as I mentioned, is repeat customers. And because we have such a high occupancy rate, they tend to book before they leave because they want to make sure that when they come next year, that slot is available. But another thing that we have for customers who are doing it online is that we don't. We have static rates. We don't offer discounts. What we do is we offer value. So if you look at our rate on Expedia or on our website, it's going to be the same rate. So there's no added value to booking it somewhere else. And if they book with us directly, you know, they have that customer experience. They can speak to a reservations team. Another great thing that our reservations team does is that because we have such a high occupancy, sometimes you don't see availability online, but we can put them on a call list. So if something pops up, they call them immediately, or they try to be more flexible, and people love that personal touch, especially with the reservations.
Yeah, I think you're very lucky, and I think like you worked hard for it over the years to have this kind of basis. I think we all want like guests that are already reserving for their next visit next year, I guess. Neha, what are your secrets to share working with Revinate, for instance, to get these direct bookings up and get more reputation or reviews online?
Yeah. Revinate publishes a benchmark report every year, actually, where we really go deep into the data. And the data shows that every guest, actually, or potential traveler, looks up on average, 9 different reviews before they take a booking decision, basically, which is huge, and which actually confirms that reviews do have a very important impact in direct business, basically, or bookings. And also 72%, I think, confirm that they would rather go for a hotel with a higher rating than sticking to a certain brand, which I think is also very interesting and why review management is so important. And actually, if you want to translate it into a formula, you could say that 1% increase in rating in your review management for hoteliers would translate into around 14% bookings, which is quite huge. So that's why we would suggest to really focus on review management in order to have a bigger impact on more bookings and also higher average daily rate. So I'm really impressed about the 70% repeat booking. That's amazing. But especially now also when you're looking into generating more new business, of course, I think it gets even more important to be visible on the different channels.
So like a 1.0 is like from a review number of an 8 to a 9, for instance. This will cost this, and you get like 14% more bookings. Is in the
and actually 11% ADR increase as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So and how? Well, the question is, how do we get this from an 8 to a 9? You know, like you have a certain product. How can you influence this?
There are many best practices, of course, and as Cressy already suggested, there are tools that can actually help you, making it a bit easier. I think one thing that can help a lot is really getting alerts, for example, for your most important channels that your property is actually visible on. But then also, travelers really value management responses as well, for example. So the fact to reply fast, especially to negative reviews, to see that there is an engagement actually from the hotel to those reviews, and also management responses can really help. These tools that we're talking about, that we, for example, provide, can also help you to show the comp set, because if you know you're performing way better than some other properties in the region, then you're very comfortable in increasing your ADR as well, for example. Yep. So there are a lot of things you can do. Stay visible, be fast, look at your comp sets, see what your USPs are, and use them also while you're responding to reviews.
Yeah, I think Laura, for you as well, like from a PR perspective, what can you do if you have a really negative review, for instance? What are the don'ts and the do's?
Yeah, actually, we work with then journalists, for example. If a journalist stays at a certain hotel and they're not happy, like something went wrong, we are always the ones to contact the hotel directly. And what do you see actually? I'm agreeing with Neha with this. When you really fast in replying to the hotel, and then they can make maybe they can offer the journalist something to make up the stay, like the things that went wrong. I think when you're fast, when you're
actually responding to it is
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
We also looked a bit of trends in it, and I also talked with the ladies about AI and Chat GPT. I use it myself sometimes as well for LinkedIn posts or something. But is it really authentic? You know, like using this data. Who wants to answer something or give tips in this?
Well, I think it's a great tool that can help you with replies, with repetitive work. But of course, you don't want to sound like an AI. So there's many tools that help you also customize the replies to your brand guidelines, to the kind of tone that you want it to have. And I think you should leverage those tools to ensure that you then don't end up just using AI and sounding like AI. So training the AI would be the best way to move with that. And we're actually looking into that and learning how to do it. And it really helps because sometimes you may have a concierge that speaks 3 languages perfectly, but then has to reply to an email in a language that they maybe are not as proficient in. But you still want to maintain that professionalism, and using a tool like that helps them to do that.
Yeah, interesting. Neha, do you have like examples or?
I actually agree with Cressy a lot here because I do understand the need of efficiency where AI can actually help. But in order to provide the service that obviously many hoteliers want to provide, personalization is still very important. And I think the stage of AI where we are right now, it can be sometimes a bit risky to just automate everything. You really want to understand the concern of the guest and find some more unique solutions as well. And sometimes that's something that the AI cannot automatically do right now. I would say it's the balance. Yeah.
I also interesting like hey, if you start a hotel, for instance, and it's you have carte blanche. How can you build reputation? Laura, do you have an idea with this?
I think start with transparency. So also working with working with a PR agency will very benefit yourself and your hotel. Once you do that, we can put you on the map. Literally, we have a big database with journalists, creators, and influencers that can help you grow your reputation. And I think in this way, yeah, that will benefit.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of hotels. They go online on the online travel agents. They expose themselves, and from there you get traffic towards the own website. But there are other ways, of course, to do it. And I think like with this, the influencer route or the agency route is like an alternative.
And sometimes the hotels themselves, they don't know who to reach. So with which influencer they work with or journalists, they don't know, who to contact. And I think we have a great database. We've been here for 25 years now. So we built that up, and I think we also see the match with the hotel. So we see the match between the brand, but also between the creators.
Yeah. Is there, Neha, also a way if you have like a takeover of a hotel, for instance, who has like a bad reputation? This you also see that it's very hard to get rid of these old reviews on TripAdvisor, for instance. Like, what can you do if you have like a takeover of a hotel with a bad reputation?
Yeah, if you're taking over a hotel, you are also trying to build a new image, basically. And sometimes it's underestimated how much you can use your review response a bit as a marketing tool as well, in the sense that you can actually highlight on the USPs that you want to focus on. So I think it becomes even more important to reply to the reviews, first of all, and to highlight those USPs of your hotel and things that you might want to do differently now in future as well, compared to the brand that is still known in the head of the travelers, basically. But also, one very important factor is to get a better ranking, basically. And that is oftentimes done with the volume of reviews and the recency. So I would definitely encourage every guest that stayed in your property to leave a review in order to quickly get there, basically.
Yeah, interesting. Tracy, do you have like experiences? Well, you already managed the hotels, I think, like for already many years.
Yeah, well, right now, so actually what I want to say is that when you have a bad review, you're already too late. you should have checked in with that guest beforehand. You should be able to listen to their concerns before they go home and write about the horrible experience that they had. So those touch points are very important. And ensuring that your customers are heard, or having things that they can, write something on an iPad or something like that, just to let know that something is not working in the room, is very important. Once you already have a full hotel that you're taking over and it has bad reviews, I also think that it's a good opportunity, like she said, when you're replying, to maybe also, when you're asking your guests to write a new review and they're writing a good one, to highlight, things have changed so much here, or it's not like how it used to be. The new management is doing something well, because when I'm going through those reviews, I know there's something different there. It's not that bad old hotel that I stayed at.
And do you ask then, or your staff is asking actively for reviews? Because, well, you can also be a bit like uncomfortable, like asking for something. But how do you do that?
Well, you try to ask, and it needs to come naturally. You never want to push someone, because that's also not going to, it leaves a bitter taste. And you ask them, how's everything going? What can we do better? People tell you, I love it. You say, well, I would love it if you could share your review, so that other people, in our case, for example, a honeymooner, someone on an anniversary, can know what experience you had, so that they know that that is maybe something that they also want. Or if there's something, we actually have a section on our website that's called What We Are Not. And people think it's the most scandalous thing, because, of course, we're telling people, if you don't like these things, then we're not the right fit for you.
I think
And
that's an interesting one. Defining your target audience. I think you see this as well with family hotels. Some are more focusing on adult only, and this attracts a certain group. And sometimes maybe parents going on a holiday without children also want to go to a resort like this.
Yes. In our case, we are an adults-only property, very quiet. So very peaceful, very quiet. If someone is looking for more of a party scene or something like that, it's not the right hotel for them. So our What We Are Not section is very powerful in letting people know it's not maybe for you. Maybe look for something else, so that the people who do come are actually there because they want to, and this is the experience they're looking for.
Yeah, I think this is also a thing within the reviews. Sometimes if there is like a bad note, it can be a positive note for someone else. So a bad note is not only a bad note, I guess. And can you tell a little bit more about this customer journey? How do you actually educate staff to respond to this, or to get this good reputation?
It's a lot of training. Also, even if you do TripAdvisor reviews, you need to train them, because you don't want them to say, hey, leave me a good review, and I don't know, there's certain things that you can't do. So it's about how to address, we're also a Forbes recommended hotel, so you have to do those trainings. So how do you address the customer? How do you politely ask them? How do you also manage crises? How do you manage angry customers? Who is going to do that? So it's a lot of training from the beginning, from when they arrive and start working with us, and then continually updating to make sure that they give the right service level.
Interesting. Neha, what I'm also interested is like this enrichment of data, because you have these guest profiles. What can you do with it?
A lot. But yeah, I think the quality of communication is really the key here. Also, now the topic today is reviews, you can tap a little bit in the dark. Okay, what kind of review will the guest leave? But the more you obviously know about your guests and understand the preferences of the guests, especially with repeat guests that come every year, you know so much about them. And having this data all organized allows you to really also, when we talk about loyalty programs, to surprise and delight the guest, actually. And you will definitely have a better understanding of how the review will look like afterwards, just because you know that this is something how I can please my guest actually on property. I really liked what Cressy said as well before, to actually check in with the guest while the guest is still on property, because I always compare it with a restaurant visit. If I order food and my food comes, sometimes I wouldn't be asked until I leave if my food was okay, and sometimes it could be cold and I didn't have a chance to say anything. So I will leave the restaurant quite disappointed. But if the waiter would come right after, just check on it, we can change the situation, and then I would still leave as a happy guest. And that's the same in a hotel. So, and then back to your question, the more I know about the guest, obviously, I can accommodate the service even more to the guest. Yeah.
And do you see like lately more complexity because of security or privacy? It's getting more difficult, I think, to get the data from the guest, or it's well protected. Is there a trend in this, or what do you see?
Guests usually appreciate personalized services a lot. So you asked, what can you do with that data? You can actually, even before the guest arrive, ask for certain preferences. And what we see actually as a trend is guests like to fill out that small, quick survey or give that information, because it will only enhance their stay. And who would say no to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's also good to do something with it. If they fill something in, that it's not just a form and a waste of time, actually, if it's not followed up correctly, so that you have these processes in place, probably. Laura, like, are there any trends you want to share with us, like with this attracting this younger generation we talked before? What do you see happening?
Yeah, you see the whole shift. Like everybody from the Gen Z generation is on the digital platforms. Most actually, they are on TikTok. And it's like their whole life is on there for some reason. And I think they even use TikTok as a Google search engine. It's not
Yes.
Google anymore for them, it's like TikTok. So we see this shift definitely in the PR and marketing world. As well, we see after COVID, we used to focus a lot on staycations in Holland, but now we see journalists, but also content creators are willing to travel a lot and travel abroad more. So that's also one of the trends.
Okay, interesting.
You see that more online. They make weekend trips, getaways, and they share it on the social media platforms. So.
And do you think there are like changes in behavior? You say like, okay, you search on TikTok. My niece is also. We were going to Texel on holiday, and
Yeah.
she searched on Instagram, like to see these visuals, for instance.
Yeah.
Maybe make a selection on Google or Booking.com, and then of course I book direct because that's the best, of course.
Yeah.
But it's like a bit of a traditional older generation that does this. How can we embrace this as hoteliers?
It's actually right what you said. I think what we do, we work a lot with hotels and we tell them to start working with TikTok creators. And it's also easier for them because when they post like a hotel link on it, it's a direct booking and they just click on the hotel and it's very easy. Instead of working with a journalist in a traditional print magazine, like a lifestyle magazine like Libelle or Margriet, you see the hotel, you see nice visuals, but then you have to go to your computer or to your phone and then type it in, then make a booking. Instead of working with a TikTok creator, they post the link of the hotel, you click on it, and it's an easier way of.
And then you are directly on the own website, going to the normal process as we probably know.
But you see already some videos about it. And they also write like a description about the hotel, so you have more inside information, I think. Instead of just the traditional photos in front of the hotel or like the rooms. Now it's like in a video content way. So that's funny to see,
I think like, we with hoteliers.com, we create a lot of websites, and we see also that video is more like used in a website in it. But I heard before that authenticity is also essential online. how can you, well, someone you give an assignment, how can you make like something really authentic?
Yeah, actually, it's really, you see that the focus is on authenticity. So people from the generation Gen Z, they're very focused on, is it real? Is it like very transparent? So they share everything they do, even when they cry, even almost when they're all like on the toilet or something. So it's crazy to see that. They also want to see it on the other side. So when they see a restaurant or a hotel, things can go wrong. For example, with your food, like they will share it on the spot when something is wrong. And I think when it can happen. So when everything is authentic, then you make more success.
So do you say like that we shouldn't be afraid for it to make
No, yeah.
mistakes, or
Yeah,
because I
it can
think
happen.
like from PR you want to have like everything really beautiful,
Yeah.
pictures, everything picture perfect, but yeah, maybe that this is not attracting this target audience.
It's actually a trend.
Yeah.
It's one of the trends that people are, sharing also things that are not maybe that bad. But yeah,
So should we all do like from tomorrow?
just
like
be real. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Casey, can you like also comment to this topic?
Yeah, so I think in our case, it has a lot to do also with the offerings that we provide. So we see a bigger trend in wellness, more also looking for off the beaten path experiences. It even has to do with what the brand is, who is behind it. Does your business have a soul? What kind of corporate social responsibility do you have? And then conveying this message to your customers. So. And looking at these trends. So with regards with wellness, for example, we're looking more at what are sleep trends that we can tap into. What are different activities that people like? What are new activities on the island that maybe there's a tour that we don't know yet that our concierges can maybe tap into and then offer to our customers. So that's how we're trying to tap into this younger market as well.
Do you look at trends like sustainability, for instance, as well? And how do you deal with this in the communication towards your clients?
So we are actually the first and only certified carbon neutral resort in the Caribbean. We're also one of the most eco-certified resorts in the world. And you know, it's all about the messaging before they arrive, but also when they arrive. The first thing that they see on the TV when they walk in is it turns on and you have the sustainability video in loop. And every market has a different appreciation for that. Some people care a lot about it, other people don't. But then it's also about conveying the activities that they can participate in order to do something good, to have a regenerative travel experience. And also showing them that they can have a very nice, luxurious experience while also doing something good back for the environment and the community that they're visiting.
Very nice. Neha, do you see like certain measurements? Like, well, a lot of hotels are doing something with sustainability, of course, but are there other trends you see, like that they measure or they find important?
Yeah, I think we touched upon a few already. Staying in touch with the guest along the whole guest journey, not just considering the guest journey to start when the guest is actually on property, but really also before and after. And that really helps to set the right expectations, I would say. Yeah.
Good. Do you see sometimes also fake reviews popping up? For instance, like on Booking.com, for instance, it's a closed system, so you can only actually fill in a review if you have like a confirmed reservation. TripAdvisor and Google also try to do this, of course, with a verified account that you have to have. But do you also see, fake reviews, Crazy, for you in the hotel that you say, is this really a guest that actually stayed with me?
Yes, it can happen. And then you report it and you make sure, because also some of the things that they may mention, you can check. When someone leaves a bad review, you always check what went wrong, why didn't anyone address it, because you want to get back to them and let them know that this will never happen again or we're taking measures to prevent it. And then you realize this person could not have stayed with us. With Google, it's a little bit more difficult because anyone can put as many reviews as you want. Getting those reviews down is also very difficult. But yeah, you see it sometimes happening.
Yeah, what I also sometimes see is when a hotelier starts, and it's not only a hotelier but also a restaurant, that friends and family, for instance, in the beginning stimulates this to have like a high review score, and at some point it drops a little bit to a natural level, whether actually the restaurant or the hotel is worth, and then well they continue on real reviews.
TripAdvisor is very strict on this, even if they think that people are doing too many reviews on the same IP. They will send you an email saying that you're trying to have people reviewing when that's not the case. So we're very, very cautious with that. All the staff is trained that they cannot leave a review
Yeah.
or friends because you don't want to be banned from TripAdvisor or,
No.
it's...
No, I think you
tricky,
lose
yeah.
this authenticity then as well, having this realness online.
Yeah.
And I think I was thinking is this also connected to the social media, for instance? Like if you leave a review on TripAdvisor, then probably you see that the guests are connected in a way. So there must be an algorithm behind it as well, how they deal with this on IP number, what you're saying, and
Yeah.
this social connect.
Yeah. Well, I think also if they see that people are in the same location, so let's say if you would prompt on an iPad in the rooms, please leave a review, and then multiple people do it, that sends them a signal that maybe a bunch of people on property are doing it, so you stay away from that. And yeah, there's different ways that I don't know how they track it, but you try to make sure that you don't get flagged.
Yeah, then we should have someone of Google TripAdvisor here on the
Yeah.
table. Neha, do you think there are secrets of breaking a bit of the algorithm to be higher in TripAdvisor, for instance, next to gaining more reviews or getting a higher score?
There's a big trend of the surveys that I mentioned earlier, actually building a stronger relationship to the guest with the not only post-stay surveys, but in-stay surveys, even flexible service, that's how we call it, where you can actually just use a QR code and leave a survey. But what the hoteliers that use Revinate, for example, do is that they have the possibility that the guest fills out the survey, and that ranking can be automatically uploaded on TripAdvisor and Google, for example, which increases your ranking as well over there. You're not only getting the feedback, but you're actually also increasing your ranking. And that's a good way of improving your online reputation. But you should not be afraid of negative reviews still. This is okay, this can happen, it's authentic. As long as you reply to it, as long as you act on it, totally fine. No need to worry about that. Yeah.
I also want to talk about, as last topic, the customer loyalty. Because we want customer loyalty. Cressie, you also said that you have a lot of guests that are returning. Do you have some insights or advice that for other hoteliers how to do that?
So I see a lot of different hotels. They try to offer maybe a discount or something like that. We personally have veered away from that. What we try to do, as I mentioned before, is offer value. So what will make the stay even more memorable? And things like having a good customer profile. When we know someone is coming on an anniversary, we have a special amenity in the room in there for them. If we know that someone, for example, doesn't drink champagne, we put non-alcoholic champagne for them. Or for a honeymoon, we even have a special beach bag. So things like that that will make them feel special, appreciated. And then also around the property, knowing what someone is celebrating from the moment that they're checking in, greeting them by their name, telling them happy anniversary, I hope you have a wonderful stay, giving them a cold glass of champagne. People appreciate that. They feel seen, heard, and then they're excited for the rest of the trip.
Yeah, very nice one. Neha or Laura, can you add to this if you...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I think personal touch is the key, and you see it actually everywhere. Also, when we invite a journalist to write for a hotel, they always put a little card for them, or maybe give them complimentary dinner, and they receive that very well. I think for every guest, it starts with the check-in. If you have like what you said, like a little champagne, or if they don't drink alcohol, they have like a juice or something. If you know what your guest is liking or what they want to do, yeah.
We all like
think that-
personal attention, I think.
I think we all like that. So no, I think personal touch is the key, and it starts with that.
Yeah. Last one.
Yeah, I think, I don't think, it's actually proven by the statistics that we see that travelers are moving away from point systems and collecting points. I think especially the newer generations are a bit tired of working hard to get there, actually, and then they might even have more expectations to get something from it. But the surprise and delight, what both actually just mentioned, is the way to go, appreciating the guest that is returning, surprising them with an alcohol-free champagne. We know you, we know what you like.
Yeah.
And this is actually creating the loyalty within the guest and also better reviews in the end. And that's where data management becomes so important if you cannot manage to know every guest in person, obviously.
Thank you. We have some time for some questions from the audience. Who wants to ask something? Our lovely panel over
I
here.
see someone in the back over
Yes,
there.
always someone in the back.
Hello. The question, I think, may be directed to Laura, but perhaps the whole panel. In the hypothetical situation where an investor is opening a hotel, let's just say Portugal, 25 room, how much more business would you expect to see generated from employing a PR firm? And what would it cost as opposed to not doing so, and just relying on the quality of the property and the
I
location?
couldn't
So on?
hear it very well. Maybe we can put the mic a bit louder.
I think you're opening up
Oh, yeah.
a property in Portugal. No? Okay.
Hypothetical situation
how-
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
hypothetical,
where
yeah.
a hotel has
That's-
been opened, 25 room.
Yeah.
What's the benefit of the PR engagement, let's say, over a year for revenue driven in a new hotel, as
Yeah.
opposed to relying on the property itself and its location and quality? Have
Well,
you
basically
an
when-
indication of that, money-wise and amount of business?
Well, I think basically when you have a hotel that's very, like a local hotel in Portugal with 25 rooms, I think then you should just really focus on regional press, journalists from the region, and then start with that. And I think when you're well known in your region, that's where it starts. And then you can go international, globally. Yeah, I think that's where it starts with.
Any other questions? Yes.
Oh, we have one.
Let's try with the microphone, otherwise I repeat.
Hello, can you hear me? Thank you for the wonderful panel. I think my question would be coming from a Gen Z perspective because I'm a Gen Z myself.
Yeah.
And creator economy is very huge right now. And whenever we travel, Gen Z's, my itinerary is very based on trends and everything
Yeah.
like that. Do hotels necessarily change or pivot their offerings based on what is trendy? And how do you make sure that you don't lose what you said before, your soul or brand DNA while doing so?
I think it's still in transition. I think it's still slowly changing to focus on this generation. Yeah, it's still more on making content on TikTok, making content on Instagram. But I think it's not really what it should be at.
I think,
Still.
to add to that, it's not every trend will fit with your brand, right?
Yeah.
Like some trends are funny, maybe your brand is not supposed to be funny, so that would not be something that would fit within that realm. But then looking at the things that do fit within your branding, what are maybe trends that I could hop onto that, like, for example, you bringing someone in to give an authentic experience of your hotel, that would be like a trend for Gen Z. But asking them to make a funny video that may go viral may just not work for us,
One question to that as well. Do you change the way you behave or receive your guests depending on the generation?
We personally don't. We have the same kind of experience for everyone, but for example, for our honeymoon guests, we do provide honeymoon toast every Tuesday, which is something that we do specifically just for them. So we may have certain offerings that are tailored to just one segment that we offer to, but that's just to enhance that person's experience.
Thank you.
How can you help for older people who aren't as online savvy, and then they might look at TripAdvisor but it's kind of meaningless because those people who are writing the reviews may not have the same, travel values as, the older people. They're not going to be on TikTok and they feel very anxious around online. So how best can you cater for the older market, which is predominantly spending quite a lot of money because that's, their kids are growing up, they're now traveling.
I think we still focus a lot on press. So traditional magazines like lifestyle magazines, but also trade magazines. And the focus is also on that because we have a lot of generations now. So we don't focus only on Gen Z. It's just a trend we are hopping onto. But I think with the traditional media, we still have older journalists who come to the hotels and still review the same as back in the days.
Neha, do you see differences in this generation, attracting we're talking about younger generation, but the older generation, well, I must admit, it's, they have a lot to spend.
Yeah, I think this is where hoteliers
they have
actually
time.
get in exchange with the guests directly through the direct contact in the hotel or then through post-stay service, etc., to capture that feedback as well. And
Write a review because, I mean, that in itself is quite a new thing. Like, why, if I've spent some money, should I spend more time writing a review to help you? Like, it doesn't really make much sense to me. But also, you go to a hotel and they say, oh, watch Netflix by doing something with the TV. Well, I struggle with that. So older people will definitely not do that. So, but then what do? They ring the room and say, I don't know how to use the TV. And it becomes more problematic.
That's why it's good, like, for example, when our guests check in, the concierge goes to the room with them, explains. Sometimes you even have to explain how to turn the lights on, even though it's a conventional light switch. But you take the time to do that. But, for example, for some of our older customers, they really still rely on travel agents, or they go through tour operators or things like that. A little bit more of traditional way of booking a trip. So they rely not maybe on the reviews of others, but on a travel expert who will help them with their stay.
I think I have a bed and breakfast myself. We're number one on TripAdvisor, and we receive a lot of older guests. And to my experience, they are very keen on filling in a review because if you make personal contact, then they have the time to give this review as well. And I think it's also that they write certain things in the review and what they find important. And I think older elderly read that as well, and they find that also important. So I think also on a website like TripAdvisor, you can see on target group who's a little bit older, focusing on certain elements, what you also find important.
I agree with that. We actually also have older clientele, and they are more likely to leave us a review on TripAdvisor than the younger ones. They barely leave it. And even with social media, we see that Facebook is used usually by an older group. So the messaging on Facebook is different than what we put on Instagram or the little bits of TikTok that we've added, using that as well.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Here you go.
Good afternoon. I realize that most of the information that's being shared has kind of shared away from digital digitalization, and I know the personal touch is needed to like get reviews. Like even in the hotels that I manage, I tend to have most of our reviews. We create the experience to make the review possible. And even in my young career, when I was younger, as a waiter, I always told my guests, I don't prefer to be tipped. I prefer to get a review because it was more value to that review than the actual tip. And that's the same thing that I created with my team, whereas we created the experience. So what we're seeing now is our reviews are being tailored based on that experience. So you can have 100 reviews. Can you remember those 100 people that placed those reviews? I've created a culture where we do. So we have guests ending the conversation saying, Kieran, can you remember my wife spoke about 100 things? Did you remember that? And I'm like, they're interacting with me through their reviews. That's one aspect, because we have two hotels and we're trying two different concepts, which is digital, and more personal. And the personal aspect of it is shooting through the roof because of that interaction and because we're helping to create the experience with the guests so that when they do write a review, they're writing all about us. There's a negative, and that turns to a positive, which Patrick spoke about, which is when a guest writes a bad review, sometimes they use it as like this thing like, okay, we know we can damage you if you don't give us what we want. We have, as many hotels have, we have procedures, we have rules, we bend them a little bit, we accommodate as much as we possibly can. But then you have some guests, especially in the Netherlands, because it's so free and because you come and you decide the Netherlands is the place where I can drink as much as I want, smoke as much as I want, get as crazy as I want, and then go back to my hotel and treat every single person shitty, excuse my French, just because. And then when you have to enforce, then they're like, oh, we know how to get back at you. And I actually use that as a positive for me, because then my team is only responds to reviews between 8 and 10 up. All reviews below, I respond to them personally.
Sorry, it would be interesting to ask the panel as well, like how. No.
Attention, please. The show will close in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Please will all visitors make their way to the exit.
Yeah. I think like it's a very, and that you have heartwarming hospitality in the heart staff. I think like thank you for sharing. But I want to close this because we have like our time is up. There are still questions and I think very interesting topics to discuss. Thank you all for sharing the questions and being here. And I want to thank our lovely panel. Give them an applause.
Thank you all.